Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. As you're coming in, let me know where you are watching from, where you're listening from. Where are you from? I am broadcasting live from Denver, Colorado. This is Nick at Noon. We're going to keep this thing going strong. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for joining. As you pop in, let me know where you're watching from, where you're listening from. And before we get into it, if you're not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit that subscribe button because we talk about all things strategy, tools, and mindset when it comes to building an online coaching business and online businesses in general, digital products, online courses, affiliate marketing, you name it, we get into it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you are popping in, let me know where you are watching from, where you are listening from. Thanks so much for joining. We are right at the top of the hour, so I'm going to respect y'all's time and I'm just going to get right into it. Is that okay with y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining. Because I really want to get into these three misconceptions about building an online coaching business that are keeping you stuck. They kept me stuck. I've seen it happen with my clients, and they're probably keeping you stuck too, because most coaching business advice is designed to keep you busy. It is designed to keep you busy, not productive, busy. And there's a version of building a coaching business that looks like this. You spend the first 3 months of your business finding your niche. Then you spend another 2 months building your audience before you even try to sell anything. And then you spend a whole nother month creating content every single day for every single platform because somebody told you that consistency is the key to everything. And then when you finally launch your offer, nothing happens because you built an audience of people who follow you for free content and have zero intention of ever paying you. And then you look up a year later and you're exhausted, you're broke in your business, and you're convinced that coaching isn't for you and that it just doesn't work. Does that sound like anybody here today? Have you experienced someone telling you to create 6 months worth of content before you launch anything? You have to niche down. You have to do all of these things before you even try to sell one thing. And so that right there, though, it's not a coaching business problem. It's a strategy problem. And today, right now, if you are under the sound of my voice and you are watching this video, we are going to fix that. So if you haven't already, I want you to go get your notebooks and your pens. If you have been watching these lives, Nick at Noon, from last week when we started to this week, you know that there might be some things that you're going to want to write down. So if you don't have your notebook and pens, I'm going to give you an opportunity to get it, or you can pop open the notes app on your phone or your tablet or whatever it is that you take notes on. I don't know. Welcome back to Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm a business coach who helps women use their existing skills to build sustainable online businesses without quitting their 9 to 5 and without the hustle, without the burnout, or without the overwhelm. Today is Strategy Tuesday. On Tuesdays, we talk about strategies. I said it a few seconds ago. I'm going to say it again. If you have not already, go get your notebooks and your pens, because today I'm going to tell you the 3 biggest misconceptions about building a coaching business. And I'm not just going to leave you hanging about what these misconceptions are. I'm going to give you some strategy on what you should be doing instead. Is that okay with you? All right, let's get into it. So, the very first and probably the most pervasive misconception about building a coaching business is that the harder you work, the faster it grows. That if you post more, if you show up more, if you do more, then results will follow. And I want to challenge that directly because you just heard me say, I am here to help women build sustainable online businesses without what? Without the hustle, without burnout, without overwhelm. So I want to challenge that directly because my entire platform at Her Income Edit is built on an anti hustle philosophy. So I want to challenge that directly. Hustle culture in this space has done an enormous amount of damage. Hustle culture has done an enormous amount of damage to the coaching industry. Hustle culture has convinced thousands of women that if their business isn't growing, it's because they're not working hard enough. Does that sound familiar? It's that it hasn't convinced people that maybe their strategy is wrong, or maybe they're targeting the wrong audience, or maybe their offer isn't positioned correctly. Hustle culture has trained us to believe that our business isn't growing because we need to wake up earlier. We need to post more content. We need to grind harder. And I'm going to say it and I'm going to stand firm on it. That simply is not true. It's simply not true. And the reason that I got to the place where I am with Her Income Edit and building this entire platform around the anti hustle approach, because I have learned a few things from building businesses and building things online since 2008. I've learned a few things, y'all. I've tried all the things, but I've learned a few things. And the fact of the matter is, the coaches who build sustainable businesses, they're not the ones who work the hardest. The key word here is sustainable. The coaches who build sustainable businesses, they're the ones who work the most strategically. And what do you mean by that, Nick? Well, I'm glad that you asked. What I mean by working strategically is you do fewer things with more intention. Does that make sense? You do fewer things with more intention. So the coaches who really win in this industry, they focus their attention on activities that directly lead to income rather than focusing their energy on activities that create the appearance of productivity. See, remember at the top of this discussion, I said the coaching industry, it has this perception of keeping you real busy, but not productive. This is exactly what I mean. I mean that the coaches who focus their energy on activities that lead to income rather than activities that create the appearance of productivity, those are the ones who win in this industry. The coaches who win in this industry, we protect our time and energy because we understand that burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a business liability. Listen, I could get on a soapbox on this one, but I'm not. I'm going to stay on topic for y'all today. But I could really get on the soapbox on this because I really believe that the hustle harder, the grinding on my life, like we have all of these every day I'm hustling. We have all these messages that are constantly coming at us and telling us that we need to work harder. We need to do more. We need to get up earlier. We need to stay up later. We need to sacrifice time with our families. We need to do all of these things when in my experience, it's not a badge of honor because all it does is leave you tired. It's a business liability. And I know I said that I wasn't going to get on a soapbox, so we just going to keep this thing moving. Thanks so much for joining on YouTube. I see you. Thanks for the love. So let's talk about what this grind approach looks like. Grinding on my life, okay? It looks like posting every day on 5 different platforms. It looks like engaging with everyone's content before you post on those 5 different platforms 2 hours a day. It looks like creating a freebie, a new freebie every single month. It looks like launching a new offer every quarter. It looks like optimizing the website that you really don't need. It looks like starting a podcast. It looks like starting a newsletter. It looks like you never stop moving. You are always working 24/7, grinding on my life. Every day I'm hustling. But on the other hand, what I like to teach inside of my programs, and if you visited my website, herincomeedit.com, you may have seen or gathered from some of the content there that I believe in a more aligned approach. And so, since I spent some time talking about the grind approach, the hustle approach, it only makes sense for the sake of balance that I talk about the aligned approach that I believe in, the aligned approach that I teach my clients, right? So the aligned approach looks like, first of all, you get clear on who it is that you help and what is the result that you deliver. The aligned approach says you create one offer that solves one problem for that one person that you got clear on who it is that you're going to help. The aligned approach says that you show up consistently in one or two places where that specific person spends her time. Consistently in one or two places, not all the platforms. The aligned approach looks like having direct conversations with prospective clients. It looks like selling your offer. It looks like delivering results. And it looks like repeat all of that I just said. Now, one of the approaches that I just described, it leads to exhaustion. The other one leads to income. Can you guess which one it is? Drop it in the chat. Which one leads to exhaustion? Which one leads to income? Is it the aligned approach or is it the grind hustle culture approach? It doesn't really take, too much of a genius to be able to figure out that it is the hustle approach. And the difference between them is not effort. Can I be very, 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 very clear on that? Because both of these approaches take effort. Both of these approaches take work. And I'm very clear about that in my products and my offers that aligned anti-hustle doesn't mean no effort. But what it does mean is clarity. And here's the thing though. The aligned approach doesn't require less work, it requires different work. Does that make sense? Somebody drop that in the chat. That the aligned approach doesn't require less work, it requires different work. Because I think when I am talking about Her Income Edit and I'm talking about my programs and my offers, and I'm talking about an anti-hustle philosophy, and I'm talking about building aligned streams of income, it might sound to some that I am saying that it doesn't require work, and that is not true. It requires work that's connected directly to the outcome you're trying to create rather than work that feels productive, but it doesn't move the needle. I'm going to say that again. Aligned approach, it means that it requires work, period. It requires work that's connected directly to the outcome you're trying to create rather than work that feels productive, but it doesn't move the needle. So that was the first misconception. The first misconception is if you hustle harder, you'll grow faster. And I'm saying, that's not true. So let's get into the second misconception. And this one is one that keeps more women stuck than anything else. And that is the belief that you need to have built a big, giant, massive audience before you can make any money. And I want to be very direct about this because some of you might be watching this and feel like, oh, well, Nick, you have over 150,000 YouTube subscribers. You have over 20,000 followers on Facebook. You have 1,000 followers on LinkedIn. You have $13,000 on Instagram. But let me tell you something, that's not where it started. That's not where it started. Remember my story. I have been building businesses online since 2008. Instagram didn't even exist. Instagram didn't even exist. When I got on YouTube, when I posted my first video in 2009, I had 0 subscribers. So I really want to be very direct about this. Audience size does not determine income. Audience size does not determine income. Audience quality does. And the difference between those two things is the difference between building a business or just having an expensive hobby. And if you believe that you need a big audience to make money in this industry, I want to break down where this misconception comes from. 2 words: social media. Social media has conflated and distorted so many things about reality, but we just gonna keep it to what it has conflated and distorted within the context of our coaching businesses. Social media has conflated and distorted what we think. When we think about reach, we equate it with revenue. And social media has done this because we see influencers with millions of followers making bank, and we automatically assume that the followers are the reason that these influencers are making money. We start to assume that the followers are what created the income. But for coaching and in this industry and in this space, and in my experience personally and with working with my clients, that equation is backwards. Coaches do not make money because we have large audiences. We can, okay? I'm not saying that's not possible, but I'm saying that is not the reason that coaches make money. We make money because we have the right conversations with the right people at the right time. And the fact is, y'all, you can have those conversations with 10 people or 10,000. The number is not what matters. It's the connection that matters. Now, let me give you a concrete example about what I mean by this. So let's just say a coach has 200 highly engaged followers who trust her. These 200 followers know exactly what she offers, and they have been watching her solve the exact problem that they have. That coach right there with 200 highly engaged followers, she can build a 6-figure business. On the other hand, let's talk about a coach who has 20,000 followers, and those followers found her through a viral post. So then they follow her because she's dancing for strangers on the internet. So they follow her for entertainment. and they're entertained and they love it and they like it and they comment and they share it. But guess what? Those 20,000 followers, because they found her through a viral post, they have zero idea of what she sells. Because here's the thing, we're human. So if I have 20,000 followers and I have a viral post and it attracts a bunch of more followers, guess what? As a human being, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do whatever the thing was that I did to attract those 20,000 followers in the first place. I'm not going to be talking about my offer. So that coach that I just described, she's going to struggle to pay her bills through her coaching business. So when it comes to followers and audience size, bigger is not better. More aligned is better. And this also means that you don't need to spend 6 months building an audience before you make your first offer. Woo wee. Listen, I'm about to say something that I know the gurus are not going to like. Thanks so much for joining, Anne Marie. I am getting ready to say something that the gurus are not going to like. If I haven't already, I'm going to say something else. And the advice of you need to spend 6 months building an audience before you make your first offer, that advice, nurture first, monetize later, that is one of the most financially damaging things the online business world has taught to women. Hasn't just taught it to women, it's taught it to everybody. One of the most financially damaging things, because it tells you to delay the one activity that actually generates income in favor of the activity that feels safer. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Let me know if you're tracking with me. Because the thing about it is that posting content feels safer than selling. Nobody wants to sell, but everybody wants to post content. Building an audience, it feels safer than having direct sales conversations. And I've said it before on this platform, and I'm probably going to say it again and again and again and again. And that is, feelings are not always facts. So posting content feels safer than selling. Building an audience feels safer than having a direct sales conversation. But safety is not the same as strategy, y'all. It's not. And every month you spend building an audience without making offers is a month your bank account stays exactly where it is. The truth is, you can make your first coaching sale with no audience at all. I mean, 0 followers. Do y'all believe that? Do y'all believe me when I say that? You can make your first coaching sale with 0 followers. I'm talking about a brand new account without a profile pic. Have a conversation with someone in your network who mentioned a problem that you know how to solve. Like, that's how easy it is. Because your first client doesn't come from your audience. Your first client comes from a conversation. And you literally can have that conversation today, like literally right now, if that's what you wanted to do. And you can do it without waiting for anybody's algorithm to decide that you or your content is worth showing to other people. So you don't need a big audience. So I said I'm going to talk about 3 misconceptions, and I've already talked about 2. And that first one was the misconception of hustling harder means that your business grows faster. The second misconception is that you need to have a large, massive audience on social media or on your email list before you can sell anything. So, the third misconception about building an online business is the one that probably keeps the most women from even starting at all. And it breaks my heart. And this third misconception is the idea that you have to have your niche perfectly dialed in before you do anything else. How many of you have heard that you need to niche down? Niche down, niche down. I've heard it and I get where it comes from because the business world and especially the online business world is obsessed with niching. We are obsessed with niching, right? You've heard the sayings, the riches are in the niches. You have to niche down, to niche down, to niche down. You've heard if you're talking to everyone, then you're talking to no one. And look, there is some truth in all of that because here's the deal in full transparency. I used to coach my own clients this way. So some of my past clients will tell you that when they've gone through some of my previous programs, I had them niching down because the fact is, a clear niche does make marketing easier. A specific offer does convert better than a vague one. It does. And knowing exactly who you help and what problem you solve, it does make everything downstream easier. It does. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining on YouTube. But here's what the niche obsession has produced in this industry. It has produced an entire generation of coaches who spent way too long trying to find the perfect niche that they never even coached anybody. Like they spent so long trying to figure out their niche, they never got to coaching. This obsession with niching down, it has created a generation of coaches who got so deep into the exercise of defining their ideal client that they never had a real conversation with a real human being. Niching down and our obsession with it has created a generation of coaches who built such detailed avatars of imaginary clients with imaginary names, while real people in their network were struggling with real problems that this person could solve, and they would have been paid for it. Here's the thing about niching, y'all. Your niche is not something you figure out in advance. It is something you discover through the work. There is a consistent theme in everything that I talk about. And that is everything is in the doing. Niching is in the doing. The clarity about who you help best and what you do most effectively, it comes from coaching real clients. It comes from noticing the patterns in the conversations that you have. It comes from paying attention to who gets the best results and what do those people have in common. And here's the thing about it. I said it before that I'm saying some things that's probably going to make the gurus, ruffle some feathers, but that's all right. The thing about it is you can't think your way to a niche. You have to coach your way there. And that means the strategy isn't to have the perfect niche before you start. The real strategy is to start with what you know, coach the people in front of you, and let the niche reveal itself through the evidence. I'm just going to pause right there and let that one sink in. The real strategy is to start with what you know, Coach the people in front of you and let the niche reveal itself through evidence, through data, through analytics. Okay. So now I want to address a concern that I know is coming. If it's not coming on this live, then it's probably going to come when somebody watches the replay. And that is, but Nick, if I don't have a niche, how do I market myself? And that is a great question. And the answer to that question is start with your profession. Start with your profession. If you're a nurse, start with other nurses. If you're a teacher, start with other teachers. If you're a project manager, start with other project managers. If you're a marketer, start with marketers. If you are a stay-at-home mom, start with other stay-at-home moms. If you are a beautician, start with other beauticians. Your professional identity is just a starting point. It is not your forever niche unless the evidence and the data points to it. Your professional identity gives you enough specificity to begin having real conversations with real people who have real problems that you already know how to solve. Thanks so much for joining on YouTube. And those conversations, when you have those conversations, and when you have those conversations on a regular and consistent basis, your true niche will emerge. And this is so important that I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Your niche emerges from doing the work. Your niche does not precede doing the work. Okay? So here's the thing. I said I was going to give you 3 misconceptions, and I gave you the 3 misconceptions. But you might be thinking, well, okay, I'm tracking with you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. But if hustling doesn't move the needle, if audience size doesn't move the needle, and a perfect niche doesn't move the needle, then what does? And I think that is a perfectly logical thought and a perfectly acceptable question to have, because I just don't want to leave you hanging on the misconceptions, because there are 3 specific things that move the needle, the 3 C's. I talk about them all the time in my client conversations and discovery calls. Clarity, conversation, and consistency, in that order. And I'm going to add a 4th C, conversion, but we're not going to talk about that one today. So the 3 things that actually move the needle in your coaching business are clarity, conversation, and consistency, in that order. So let's talk about clarity. Because clarity is knowing something specifically enough, and it's knowing what problem you solve and for who you solve that problem for. You know it so clearly that you can communicate it in a single sentence. One single sentence. Not a paragraph, not a website that outlines everything about your business. You need one sentence that makes someone say, "That's exactly what I need. That is exactly what I need." My name is Nick Scott, and I'm a business coach who helps women use their existing skills to build online coaching businesses without quitting their 9 to 5, without the hustle, burnout, or overwhelm. That's it. You only need one sentence. And here's the thing, you don't need perfect clarity. You just need enough clarity to start. And enough clarity to start is usually closer than you think. It's usually closer than you think. So let's talk about the second thing that moves the needle. Somebody drop conversation in the chat, because that's the second thing that moves the needle. And conversation is the direct human one-on-one interaction between you and a potential client where you understand their problem, they understand your solution, and you make an offer. So I mentioned discovery calls earlier, right? That is one place for you to have direct human one-on-one interaction between you and a prospective client where you understand their problem, they understand your solution, and you make an offer. I'm going to tell you what conversation isn't. Conversation is not a social media post. It's not a social media post. Conversation is not a funnel. I know that so many of the coaches who are really popular in this space, they have made funnels seem like that is the conversation, and it's not. A conversation, y'all, is a conversation. And this is the single highest leverage activity in any coaching business, especially when you're first getting started. And it's also the activity that most coaches avoid because it requires them to put themselves and their offer directly in front of another person who might say no. And in fact, you're going to hear more no's than you hear yeses. So you risk rejection, and rejection doesn't feel good. We're human. But here's the thing about it. The coaches who build the fastest are the ones who are willing to have more conversations than anyone else. The coaches who build the fastest, they're not always producing better content. They're just having more conversations. Clarity, conversation. And the third action that moves the needle in your coaching business is what? Consistency. Consistency. Consistency is showing up in the same place with the same message for a long enough period of time. And I just want to pause there. Too often in this industry, and I have seen it happen time and time and time and time and time again, a woman will start off on fire. This girl is on fire about her business, okay? She shows up and she's ready to go out the gate, boom, having the conversation. She has the clarity, she has the consistency. But then when things don't start to move within the first 3 months, 4 months, she stops. So I'm going to say it again. Consistency is showing up in the same place with the same message. This is the important part. For a long enough period of time that your audience knows exactly who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how to work with you. The operative word here is for a long enough period of time. Long enough period of time. And I'm not talking about consistency across every platform. I'm talking about consistency in one place. And I want you to think depth over breadth here. So I want you to go deep. One platform, deep with the consistency. One platform done well is infinitely more valuable than 6 platforms that are done halfway. And there you have it. That's it. Those are the 3 actions that will move the needle in your coaching business. It's clarity, conversation, and consistency. That's what moves the needle. Not hustle, not audience size, not a perfectly defined niche that took you 6 months to land on. The aligned approach is simpler than the grind approach. It's not easier, but it is simpler. And simple in this industry is what scales. Okay? So applications for Ignite close on March 23rd. What is Ignite? Ignite is my flagship program, and I am currently looking for my founding cohort. Cohort caps at 15, but I really would like to get 7 women in this first cohort. And I want you to hear, and what I want you to hear in the contents, in the context, not contents. I guess you could hear it in the contents too. But what I want you to hear in the context of everything that we talked about today is this. I built Ignite on the aligned approach, not the grind. And so when you join, here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to spend 12 weeks of your time creating content for every platform. We're not going to do that. We are not going to spend 3 months of your time finding your perfect niche before you ever talk to anybody. We are not going to build elaborate funnels before you have a single paying client. What we will do in Ignite is get you clear on what it is you offer and who it is it's for. We will get you, I will help you get you in conversations with the right people. And I'm going to help you build the consistency for a long enough time that makes those conversations compound over time into a real sustainable online coaching business. I'm talking about the 3 C's here today: the clarity, the conversation, and the consistency. And this is going to happen inside of a 12-week container. You're going to get live coaching every single week. You will get a cohort of women doing the work alongside you. And if this is the kind of support that you've been looking for, then Ignite is for you. It's for you, plain and simple. The link for Ignite is down in the description. Once again, applications close on March 23rd. And I want to close by saying this. The biggest misconception about building a coaching business is that it requires more. That's it. More hustle, more followers, more clarity before you begin. But building a coaching business does not require all that. You heard it here first on Nick at Noon. What it requires is better. Building a coaching business requires better strategy, better conversations, better alignment between what you do and who you do it for. And better, it starts with deciding that what you already have, the skills that you already have, they are more than enough to start. And I don't mean enough to have it all figured out, right? I would say 99%. I was going to say 100%, but I'm sure there's that 1% of coaches in this industry that waited until they had it all figured out to start. But most of us, we had enough, we knew enough to take the next step. Okay? So before I go, I want to see if you all have any questions. Are there any questions? If you have any questions about the content, about the 3 misconceptions that keep women from building their online businesses, if you have any questions about the 3 C's, just drop it in the chat. These lights get so hot. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Seeing that there are none, I want you to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about money. It's Money Wednesday on Nick at Noon. And specifically, what I'm going to be talking about is what your life can look like when you stop leaving money on the table, and also what it looks like to build income on your terms. So if that's something that piques your interest, I am going to invite you to set a reminder. I will be back here live at noon. And if anything that I said about Ignite, if it sparked anything in you, if you feel like, you know what, that is something that would be good for me right now in my journey. Applications close on March 23rd. You can head over to my website at herincomeedit.com/ignite, or you can click the link in the description. And I will see y'all in the next one. All right. Bye.